Kite tip number 5 is all about what size kite to use. I remember when I was learning, that was always one of the hardest decisions I had to make. I would have to look very closely at everybody out there kiting. What size are they on? Am I the same weight as them? Am I the same standard? And it would always be a really tough decision for me to decide what kite size I needed. But as I've gotten better, I figured out that we need to choose our size based on wind speed, weight, style, and ability. So choosing the right kite size can be a tough decision, especially if you're the first one or the only one at the beach. And the things to consider, as I mentioned, are wind speed, body weight, standard of kiting, and what style of kiting you plan to do. In light winds, we'll use bigger kites, somewhere between a 10 to a 15 meter or maybe bigger again. In high winds, we'll use smaller kites, usually from about a 4 to a 7 meter. And we'll use a 7 to 10 meter kites in moderate winds, which is what we'll use most of the time. I will always use a slightly smaller kite than, say, my husband because of our difference in body weight. Beginners should also consider using slightly smaller kites and maybe shorter lines also when they're learning, so that they don't get overpowered and out of control. And then they can progress to bigger kites and longer lines as they progress. Style's also important for kite size. You'll see freestylers who love to jump. They'll tend to use a bigger kite, so they've got extra power to give them extra height for their jumps. Whereas kiters in the waves who want to drift down the line and they want the kite to turn very quickly will use a smaller kite. And if you're using a hydrofoil board, you might even use smaller again in order to not have too much power when you're up on the foil. The other thing to consider, especially if you're snow kiting, is am I using an inflatable or a foil kite? Foil kites tend to have slightly more power. So if you were on, say, an 8 meter foil, it would be equivalent to about a 9 or a 10 meter inflatable kite. So make sure you choose your kite size based on the wind speed, weight, style, and ability in order to be safe out there.